Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
Hey, very good day to you. I'm Dave Adams. This is KGAL's Valley Talk. Glad to have you with us today. And we have an interesting show for you today. We have on the agenda Kyle Ziegler, who has worked as a commercial fisherman in the Bering Sea of Alaska. You've seen the show The Deadliest Catch. Well, he is scheduled to be here in the studio today to talk to us about his experiences fishing on the Bering Sea, and hope to have him in the studio with us to talk about that. Marie Dodds from the Oregon AAA is going to talk about gas prices. Gas prices are going down. Boy, it's a very, very nice Christmas present. We are excited about seeing that. How far down will they go? Well, we'll talk about that this morning as well. On the phone line with us, we have Brigadier General Mike Caldwell, Deputy Director of the Oregon Military Department. There was a signing ceremony yesterday with the Oregon Governor signing the Japanese Tsunami Marine Debris Plan. And we have Brigadier General Mike Caldwell on the phone. We'll be talking to him in just a moment about what's going on. And we've got a couple of questions for the Brigadier General about, specifically also about this Japanese, the $5 million given by the Japanese government. And it looks like initially, anyway, the federal government is going to be hesitant about helping the states with some reimbursements for expenses already incurred, such as removing that dock from the Oregon coastline. We'll talk about that. If you're listening and you want to sign up for the Quiznos Taste on Us giveaway, we're giving away a $10 gift certificate at the end of the show. And all you have to do to sign up is send me an email, dave@kgal.com, or call the station at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL at the end of the show. We're going to put your name in the hat, and at the end of the show, we'll draw out a name, and that person will win a $10 gift certificate from Quiznos in Albany, right next to Novak's Restaurant and next to the former G.I. Joe Sporting Goods location. So that's what we have on the show today. Brigadier General Mike Caldwell, thank you for being with us on Valley Talk today.
Well, not a problem. Thanks for asking us on.
Let's talk about this $5 million. We're reading news reports that the Japanese, the country of Japan has given the United States $5 million to help with tsunami cleanup. And there's at least the initial reaction from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is, what we're hearing is they're not going to reimburse the states for expenses already incurred. What do you know about that?
Well, we're familiar with news releases as well, and they came out from the Japanese government, and we've had conversations with some of their personnel here in the Northwest, and it appeared to us that their intent was to do exactly that, to give roughly $1 million per state, but they didn't put any strings on this. It's quite unusual, I think, that if a foreign country would give the United States money for anything. It's usually the other way around, it seems. But
oh yeah.
And I think that the problem is that they didn't know how to handle it, which kind of ground the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. probably to a halt until a bunch of lawyers decided how to do things. And now they've come out and basically indicated, verbally, not in writing yet, that this will be for future cleanup issues, not costs already incurred. The governor's office was not real pleased about that, and they are working our delegation and also, letting the federal government know that this is very displeasing, and we don't believe that's the proper way to do this, and it's not a very, very good decision in our minds.
Yeah, I've got a few comments about that, and they're not aimed at you, Mike, but bureaucratic arrogance comes to mind is the first thing that I thought of when I read that news account. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit here at the end of the interview. So let's talk about the state plan. What involves the state plan? What did the governor sign, and what's the plan going forward?
Well, the plan, we actually started working the plan shortly thereafter the earthquake occurred in Japan, knowing full well that there's probably going to be some, a fair amount of this, and then we probably 9 months before we ever saw anything. Kind of got the expectation at the time from NOAA and the other certified smart folks that do the modeling on the computers with the wind flows and the currents, etc., was that we probably wouldn't see much of anything until about this time of year right now, in late 2012 or 2013. Obviously, that was that plan, or that hypothesis was proven incorrect in July or June when we got the dock landed on Agate Beach.
It's kind of like forecasting the weather.
Yeah, very hilarious, and so that hastened the effort, I think, to get our plan put together at that point, which really includes things like, who are the coordinating folks? Who should we talk to? And it's really interesting because there are so many jurisdictions between federal and state and different agencies on the coastline, depending on where you're at. If you're 3 miles out, if you're 5 miles out, if you're 10 miles out, and and some people have jurisdiction on the floor but not the water, and so it was really kind of a good lesson, I think, for all of us to figure out, who are the players, because without knowing who they are and who has what responsibility under the law, both federal and state, you really you run into, you're paralyzed, just as you indicated earlier. So that's a key part of this, is the coordination and how these coordinated agencies, not discounting the local governments, tribal governments, and so as you can say, it's a big deal. Our state agencies are non-governmental organizations like Solve and some of those groups have been instrumental in making this thing work, and again, coordinating them with the right people. Because there's a lot of people in Oregon, they want to volunteer their work. As mentioned by County Commissioner from Lincoln County yesterday, Terry Thompson, he said, the beaches are public. They belong to the public, and the public likes them, and the public respects them, and they try to take care of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of an Oregon ethos, and clearly, without those volunteer groups coordinating some of this thing, the cleanups is just the normal cleanups, not discounting what was, the tsunami debris. So we put all this together in a basic plan, communication lines, how we're going to communicate with the media, et cetera, to let make sure people understand what we're doing and when something does arise. And we asked the governor and his staff to review it, which they've been part of this process anyway once he established the task force and put me in charge of it. And they concurred, and everybody agreed after 2 or 3 edits, and we asked the governor to sign it as being complete. It's a living document. In fact, as we're working on an annex to it right now about what happened in the last 24 hours or so up in Washington, where the second dock out of 3 that we know got away in Japan, the second one has arrived in the Olympic Peninsula right now, apparently about the last 24 hours or so.
That's what I hear. I was going to ask you about that.
So it's one of the things we discovered as the task force met and discussed these issues. What if we get another one out? As this fisherman found 2 days ago, 16 miles out of Westport. Would it be wise to hire a local, salvage company to go out there and get a rope on that thing or a cable on it and get it to the right dock, get it to the right spot? Fearing, of course, that it'd get into rocky headlands, and then whose responsibility is it? The federal government? Is it the state? Depending on where it lands. And then you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps, to remove the same dock that cost us $85,000.
Right.
So I think it all ties together, and that's the annex that we're still working on. We haven't got it. We got some good input from the task force yesterday, and that will be added to this plan. So it's a working, living document, and we'll continue to work it and make sure that it's viable and makes sense.
Do we have any direction from NOAA or the federal government yet as, okay, we're going to talk about the reimbursement issue, but from this point going forward, now that the discussion has been engaged, if the state, let's say another dock shows up New Year's Day or next year on Oregon's beaches, are they going to pay from that point going forward, or when is the trigger point for them? Do we know yet?
Well, we don't really know. That's what we're assuming at this point based on some conversations, but... and I think what they've done in this instance is they put out one $50,000 grant, which Oregon Recreation and Parks and Recreation Department applied for and got, and it was very clear in that grant stipulated that it had to be for things to the future, not the past. Oregon Parks and Recreation Department also applied for a $150,000 grant that NOAA has available that closes, I think, this week or something like that. And again, it's for future, not past. And I think in the conversations that some of the task force was having with the NOAA personnel, and I don't know what level that was, is they said, no, it'll be the same grant proposal operation that we're doing now. Not necessarily given $1 million per state of the $5 million. And clearly we know that Alaska and Hawaii have probably gotten equal to or more so than any of their other states. So maybe that's part of their intent. We don't know. We haven't seen the rules. We haven't been communicated with in writing. So I think until we Until we know that for certain, it appears that's the way they're going to go. That's what they've indicated. We tried to energize our federal delegation to intervene with them and hopefully, give them a better direction. But we don't know.
Okay. Have we heard from the congressional delegation, Oregon congressional delegation? I'm sure they're going to go and pound on some doors as well.
Absolutely. They've already been very active in doing that prior to this announcement that we learned yesterday. And their staff were all engaged in our meeting. Everyone, I think, but Congressman Walden, which I don't think he has any coastline, but in his district, but everybody else was represented in both the senators' offices and the other representatives. Their offices indicated that we're going to take this on in a big way. So I suspect they'll have a coordinated effort with an all-delegation signature letter, something that'll probably be getting out very soon, I hope.
Wow. Well, I've got some editorial comments about that position from the federal government, which I'll share. You can either stay on the line or not, but we'll do those in just a moment. So let's talk about where we are going forward as a state, tsunami debris. Let's say there's a phone number people can call if they're walking on the beach and find debris that's questionable. Can they call somebody? Is there a solve number?
Just 211. And if you call 211, we've got it all set up now. So those calls get taken and responded to, basically seamlessly. And that's where we've been getting most, if not all, of our information is from citizens, because again, they're the ones that are out there walking the beach. They're the ones that are seeing it, and we've seen an uptick at certain times a year, obviously. But right now, they tell us that the folks at Surfrider, Solve, these other groups that are out there on a constant basis, it's about normal, but there seems to be a lot of plastic, more so than they've noticed before. So obviously we're getting some of that. I think the thing that those concern us, but I think that should concern us generally every day of the year. What really concerns us is something large that maybe hazardous material in it that could be harmful to the public. It could have invasive species on it, and those are the things that we're really concerned about.
For example, this dock, let's say another dock comes floating along to the coastline of Oregon and it's 5-10 miles out. Is there any kind of coordinated effort among fishing trawlers, the Coast Guard, whatever, to keep an eye for large debris so it just doesn't, for example, it's I'm sure a lot cheaper to handle a floating dock out there to be able to tow it somewhere than try to disengage it from a beach or remove it from some kind of rock outcropping.
Well, there you go. We're having common sense. So
that's a dangerous habit I have.
Yeah, I know. And that was exactly what I brought up at our task force meeting and through our group, was that it makes a whole lot more sense that we'd be better off to try to do that. Well, that sounds simple, but it's got more complexity than I ever knew when I threw this out. And we are working it right now. In fact, we're going to be down in Newport talking to some people that actually fish for a living, and they can tell us the ins and the outs and how to couch this. And we're working with Lincoln County, who has several vessels that they have in their emergency operations plan in case they need them for certain things. So that's probably the route we're going to go. We believe that it's going to be a lot cheaper, whoever the entity is, if we can either, one, get it towed, or two, pay a fisherman or even a boater who just happens to be out there sport fishing, pay that person a fair salary to cover this thing until we can get Coast Guard on it, or we, the state of Oregon, would hire a contractor to go out and pick it up and get it to the right spot so we can get it cleaned up and get it destroyed. There is one more dock that we know is somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Now, we found one on Maggot Beach, now the one up in Washington, and there's one more out there. It may be the one that was spotted in Hawaii, but this one that landed in Olympia could very well be that one too. So it was spotted in Hawaii and it was lost. Fishermen saw it. There was cell phone video on it, and the Coast Guard's never been able to find it.
It may have sunk, but maybe not.
No, it didn't sink. I'll guarantee you that. Unless it got hit by maybe the aircraft carrier Enterprise, that might do it, but they would know it then. But that's about the only thing that I can think of, because these things are amazingly well built and very buoyant.
They don't sink on their own.
No, okay. No, they don't. It would be highly unlikely that would be the case, and And I'm sure you read the reports that when we got the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife down on the dock on Agate Beach, there was something on the order of around 100 and some different invasive species that were on that thing, plant and animal.
Right.
And, I forget how many tons, like 2.5 tons or something like that, 4.5 tons, I don't remember the exact number, but there was a lot of stuff on that thing. And even after they cut it in two and they lifted it up, the bottom was clean. But the rubber bumpers on the side that appeared to be sealed, that once they cut the thing in two, they could see inside of it, and it was full of invasive species. So these things are not good for our environment around here, and some of them are some of the nastiest invasive species that there is, And so we definitely, I think, as a general rule, we want to be very concerned about that, and that's what bothers me. If we don't put it where we want it, it ends up in a rocky headland, costs $1 million to get out of there, and maybe you don't get all invasive species. We lucked out at Agate Beach. There's just no question.
So the ecological damage that could occur from the introduction of invasive species could far outweigh the simple cost of just removing it from a rocky headland.
Exactly, and that's exactly what, from what I read in the news reports, and that's all the information I have this morning. We're trying to get a hold of the state of Washington's emergency management, and see what we can learn from them. We're hoping and we know they'll share with us when the time's right, but I'm sure they're busy. But from what we heard in the news reports, this is in a very difficult spot on a rocky headland. And it looks to be on federal property, or beach because it's a federal park. So that could really complicate things, given if it landed in a very difficult spot, and how do you get it out of there, and does it have invasive species? And even though it's in Washington, we can say, well, it's in Washington. Well, that's not very far from here, and those things can spread, and it could be really bad for the whole West Coast.
Sounds like we need to have a plan to do some proactive, we need to grab a hold of this off the coast and pull it somewhere else where it's not going to be, docking to Oregon's coastline and creating introduction of who knows what.
I would totally agree, and that was exactly what we were discussing yesterday, and we're going to continue to work with our federal partners to try to make sure that happens in some, organized, disciplined, but exacting fashion, so everybody's not standing around scratching their heads looking for a solution that's obvious as the nose on your face. So that's kind of the approach we're taking at this point.
Or trying to blame someone else after the horse is already out of the barn.
Well, again, we spent $85,000 cleaning up that one dock, and it landed in an ideal spot, a perfect place. ODFW is pretty certain that there is no release of invasive species because as it comes in on the sand, it scours the bottom, crushes them all, kills them all. The ones on the side were immediately dealt with, and then after the bumpers were cut, they were dealt with, and they were all destroyed. And so we think, and they're monitoring it. They're monitoring the site ecologically to see if there is something there, and they're doing some good work on that. So, again, we lucked out. We got the perfect landing, the perfect spot where you could get equipment in and get it out. God only knows what would happen if you put it out there in one of those rocky headlands, and suddenly you're talking several $1 million to bring in, big vessels to get that little thing out of there because of the danger of where it's at against the rocks and the tides. So that's concerning me. That's our biggest concern. So,
well, we'll keep an eye on this and see what comes out of it. We're very, very interested. I and many others here in the state of Oregon just absolutely, here in Albany, we're an hour away from the beach. Oregon's beaches are one of the treasures in the state, and not to mention our agriculture industries. So we need to be extremely proactive here. To prevent any kind of ecological catastrophe, which could conceivably happen.
Absolutely, and we totally agree, and that's exactly the attitude that we've got in this task force, and we all concur. We all concur at this point.
As far as there was no radioactive residue on this barge that was taken off the Newport Beach, correct?
No, we checked it. In fact, as we continue to monitor the beaches, if you recall, the radioactivity the meltdown actually occurred after the tsunami. The tsunami created it, the earthquake, and the tsunami created it. So most of this stuff was pretty much far out to sea before that happened. But having said that, that doesn't mean that there's impossible. Some wood on there could have gotten some fallout and been on there, but we checked it out and it didn't have any.
Okay. Mike, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just appreciate your, asking us to be on your program, and so your listeners can, understand that, we're going at this with hammer and tong, and we're going to do the right thing for Oregon. So we really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your listeners.
Do you want to be part of my editorial comment, or would you rather hang up at this point?
No, I'll listen in. I'm certainly. It may look something like Senator Johnson's editorial comment, who was in the Statesman Journal here in Salem this morning. She said, "Quote: Well, that was a dumb decision." Unquote.
Well, I'm about ready to say more than that. This is ridiculous. I would call it malfeasance of government. I would call it bureaucratic arrogance. This is money that did not come from U.S. taxpayers, came from another country and said, look, we had a problem. Here's $5 million to help you take care of the problem that started on our shores and drifted onto your shores. So thank you to the Japanese government for making the overture, at least helping us clean up the mess. So the money then goes to the U.S. government, and it is the job of the federal government, the U.S. government, to serve the citizens. It is not the other way around. State of Oregon here has spent $250,000 right so far to clean up the tsunami debris, and part of that was on this dock. That's money that could have been spent to keep teachers on the job, to police officers on the street, mental health. There's so many different areas to state government that this money could have been spent on. We had to spend it to clean up the mess from the Japanese tsunami. So federal government comes and says, well, our rules say that we can't use it to reimburse, but we can use it for future expenses. Where did this dock come from? It came from the Japanese tsunami. Where else did it come from? I call it bureaucratic arrogance. I call it malfeasance of government. This is a classic example of how the federal government and government in general, but let's talk about the federal government now. They're the ones saying, no, we're, obviously, well, it came from Japan, but we're not going to allow reimbursement for this. That's stupid. That's arrogant. That's letting the rules dictate what your government does instead of serving the people. It is malfeasance. And we better see another decision on this, or we're going to start raising some hackles here. And to the extent of reaching out to other talk shows and reaching out to the citizens of Oregon, saying this is a classic example of how the federal government has lost touch with the people. And we're not going to let you get by with this, because this dock came from Japan. It's obviously tsunami cleanup. Japanese government gave $5 million. You better bust loose with some of that for the state of Oregon, because we had to step in and we cleaned it up. Money was given to provide the cleanup, and your rules simply say you're not going to have reimbursement. This is tsunami cleanup. You need to help pay for this. And if you don't, we're going to keep track. And this is item 1 in the People's Exhibit of the federal government has lost touch with the people. It is if you're a federal employee, if you're a federal elected official and you're listening, the people are mad. And this is a classic example of why they're mad. And this is a classic example of why people are voted out of office. Because you are there to serve the people, not the other way around. You need to bust loose with some of that money. If you don't, we're going to come knocking on your door. And we're going to reach out to citizens. We'll start a petition drive. We'll do whatever we have to. But this is stupid. And this is why people have no faith in the federal government. It's got to change. So I'm off my soapbox now. Hey, Mike, thank you very much for your time, and appreciate you being on Valley Talk.
Yeah, not a problem, Dave. Appreciate the opportunity. And like I said, anytime, give us a call. We're here to serve, and we'll do what we can to let the people know what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Okay, we'll be in touch. You have a great day. Merry Christmas.
You bet. Good thing to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. We better see some action on this from the feds, or this is ridiculous. This is absolutely this is asinine. The federal government has got to make some different decisions here, and we just need to send a very, very loud message to whoever will listen that this is why the people are ticked off. Okay? We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a moment. This is Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams, and be back right in just a moment.
Northwest Investment Management, Inc., your local real estate management company, was incorporated by Rex Watkins in 1997. Rex has been an Oregon real estate property manager for 25 years, and his goal at Northwest Investment Management is to reduce your burden of property ownership. Fair fees, quality service, and attention to detail serves both the property owner and the tenant. Residential, commercial, and industrial. Call Northwest Investment Management now, 541-928-6257. Log on to MidValleyRentals.com, licensed and complying with all federal, state, and local fair housing laws.
I'm going to have a great Christmas, but this year I'll have to really stretch my budget. I'm keeping it simple by shopping at the cutest little jewelry store in the area, Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry. They'll even wrap my gifts for free. Lovely estate items, distinctive designer pieces, always some great sale items, and their prices and quality are always better than the chain stores. For the collectors on your list, 2012 proof sets and silver dollars. Collectible Christmas coins, too. Coin collector supplies and starter kits, stocking stuffers from under $10. Smart shoppers know where to buy fine jewelry and gifts for less now and anytime. So, if you were thinking jewelry is too expensive for your gift list, think again. Let Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry make this Christmas the best ever. Mid-Valley Gems and Jewelry on Pacific, just down from Wendy's in Albany.
From now till January 7th, Lassen Toyota is helping make your holiday wishes come true. Santa's helpers have been busy repricing Lassen's cars and trucks to the right price, and you can cash in on all the holiday cheer. For example, save $2,500 off MSRP on all in-stock new 2012 Toyota Camrys. You heard right. Save $2,500 on Camry LEs, XLEs, even XLE hybrids. Plus, you can get financing at 0% for up to 60 months. If you're looking for a 4x4, Lassen Toyota can get you into a new 2012 RAV4 with your choice of $750 customer cash or 0% financing for up to 60 months. And you also get 2 years or 25,000 miles of Toyota Care included at no extra charge with any new Toyota lease or purchase. It's the most wonderful time of the year, but it only lasts between now and January 7th at Lassen Toyota, located just a quarter mile east of I-5 on Highway 20 in Albany. Special financing in lieu of rebates on approved credit through TFS. License, title, and dock fees extra. Complete details at lassenauto.com.
Deep clean, squeaky clean, that's what you want for your home and business. TM Janitors has been providing just that for years throughout the Mid-Valley. Glowing reports from Paloma, North Albany, Corvallis, Lebanon. Happy, satisfied clients. Great value, too. A fraction of the price of the national franchises. Get a quote from TM Janitors today. Mention this ad and get $50 off your initial deep cleaning. Call now, TM Janitors, 570-9711. Make a note, TM Janitors, 570-9711.
The Morning Update, weekday mornings on News Talk 1580, KGAL.
This is Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams. Glad you are with us today. And still waiting for Kyle Ziegler. Kyle, if you're hearing my voice, you would like to have you in your studio right here. And looking forward to that. Looking forward to hearing your story about fishing in the Bering Sea of Alaska. We are going to be talking in just a moment with Marie Dodds of Oregon AAA about gas prices. But this, as I read news reports and about this cleanup effort and the fact that NOAA is having the gall to say that we're not going to reimburse for past expenses when this expense obviously was from the Japanese tsunami, that makes me very angry. And it should you too. As how the federal government is treating its citizens. So we're going to start doing this. We're going to start collecting names right now. Just send me an email at dave@kgal.com, dave@kgal.com. We're going to start collecting names, and we're not going to let this one go. This is just a classic example of government losing touch with the people. So the people are going to reach out and touch someone. And would like your help to do that. If you have friends out of the market, out of the Albany market, that would like to get involved in this, just have them send their name to my email address, dave@kgal.com. We're going to start collecting names and start knocking on some doors. So, AAA, early Christmas present. Gas prices are going down. How low can they go is a question we have for Marie Dodds. And let's go to that interview right now.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And yeah, we're trying to give you a little gift for Christmas in the form of lower gas prices. You think that'll be okay?
I think that would be awesome.
Good.
I enjoy it.
I do too. It's nice to be the bearer of good news because a lot of times, as you know, throughout the year I talk about rising gas prices. So it's really nice to talk about falling gas prices at a time of year when we can all enjoy it, because I know we all have a lot of extra expenses with gifts and travel costs and food and all kinds of additional costs this time of year. So it's nice to have the gas bill go down a little bit.
Why are they going down?
You know, we've got a lot of factors that are working to send gas prices lower. First of all, we're at a point right now in the U.S. where we have a lot of gasoline, so a lot of supply. We have not so much demand. Now, granted, we do have the holiday travel season here, but for the most part, when you look at driving overall, it is down. And so we've got a lot of supply of gasoline, not so much demand, and we all know from Economics 101 back in school that, that can put downward pressure on prices. On top of that, we've seen cheaper crude oil prices. Over the last several weeks, crude has been in the $80 range for a barrel of crude. And just in September, crude hit a recent high of about $99 a barrel. So that was a pretty steep decline in a relatively short time.
How low can you go? What's the direction is down, but how low is it going to drop?
That's a very good question. And, of course, as we all know, gasoline prices can turn around and move up again in a hurry. So barring unforeseen events, I think that we will continue to come down a few more cents here by the end of the year. Our current national average is about $3.22. Our current Oregon statewide average is $3.29. And, both averages could drop a few more cents.
Do you think we're going to get under $3 a gallon for an average?
For an average in Oregon, I don't see that right now. Unless it happens maybe later on in January, but that's normally the time of year that we start to see gas prices eke up again. And in fact, this year, 2012, our low gas price for the year happened right after the first of the year, January 1st or 2nd, depending on what average you're looking at. So that is the time of year gas prices tend to go up. So I think we are close to hitting the bottom right now, but I think that we could sneak down a few more cents between now and the end of the year.
Well, great news for the Merry Christmas holiday and great news to start a new year and puts more of spending money in people's pockets. And talk about an economic stimulus package. This is probably the best deal in town.
It really is. And, of course, like we were talking about, this time of year, there are so many additional expenses hitting most households that it's really nice to have a few extra bucks in your pocket that you're not spending on gas. And the other interesting thing is that this was already shaping up to be a very busy holiday season. AAA was projecting that about 93 million of us, or about a quarter of the population, will go somewhere over the holidays. And, of course, folks who might have been on the fence because of high gas prices, they might now be saying, okay, let's pile the family in the car and go on that holiday road trip over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house. So I think that we'll probably end up seeing even more travelers than folks who said they would go as of a few weeks ago.
Okay, well, if you're traveling, have safe travels. And Marie, you have a safe holiday as well.
Same to you, Dave. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I'm Dave Adams, KGAL Valley Talk with Marie Dodds of Oregon AAA. And glad you're with us on the program today. Good news for gas prices. Hey, boy, wouldn't it be nice to see gas prices get below $3 a gallon? What do you think? You think we'll reach it? The trend is sure in the right direction. Glad to see it headed in that way. We still are taking entries for Quiznos Taste on Us. And all you have to do is send me an email, dave@kgal.com, or call the station at 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL. Put Quiznos Taste on Us on the subject line. At the end of the show, we are going to draw a name out of the hat. Could be yours. And if it is, you get a $10 gift certificate that you can take a buddy to Quiznos in Albany for lunch, and you can choose between sub sandwiches, drinks, chips, whatever, and just have a ball on us for $10 at Quiznos in Albany. Thanks to Dale and the crew for being a part of the Valley Talk family here on KGAL. More on the program in just a moment.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by 1-800-Flowers.com. Make someone smile today with 1-800-Flowers Smile Guarantee. In a moment, a special offer for you. This is Charles Osgood. Some amazing things are going on inside research labs like the one at the University of Pittsburgh School of Medicine. One huge challenge they took on there was to make it possible for someone paralyzed from the neck down to control a prosthetic arm, hand, and fingers with her brain. Dr. Andrew Schwartz led the team.
I wanted to be able to capture those natural features of movement from brain activity.
That meant implanting microelectrodes into a test subject's left motor cortex. That's the part of the brain that initiates motion. The surgeon was Dr. Elizabeth Tyler Cabara.
Surgery went about as smoothly as I could have hoped. And I think that really I held my breath until she was out of the hospital and at the rehab hospital. And we said, okay, now imagine wiggling your thumb.
We'll meet the test subject and hear how it's going with her after this. It's Christmas time, the time to share the holiday spirit with family and friends. So send something special to someone special in your life. The traditional Christmas centerpiece from 1-800-Flowers.com. This lovely centerpiece is full of fresh roses, lilies, carnations, and Christmas greens, topped with a decorative candle, all hand-arranged by a local florist. I recently received this centerpiece, and what a wonderful way to brighten the table and deliver smiles all around, even before Santa and his elves can get there. For a limited time, 1-800-Flowers.com has a special offer since you listened to the Osgood File. Order the traditional Christmas centerpiece and get a free upgrade to a larger centerpiece. That's more flowers for free, starting at just $29.99, available for same-day delivery. So don't wait. For this and other holiday arrangements, go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or your mobile device. At the top of the page, click on the radio microphone and enter my last name, Osgood, Osgood. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter Osgood. Or you can call 1-800-Flowers and mention Osgood. Jan Shorman is 53 years old and for the last 10 years has been paralyzed from the neck down. The researchers used a brain scanning technique to find the exact part of Jan's brain that lit up when she was asked to think about moving her own unresponsive arm, hand, or fingers. She was able to wiggle the prosthetic thumb, and after weeks of training, Jan got better and better at it.
It's just I want to do that, and my brain knows what things to move to make that happen.
And now, though her own limbs are still paralyzed, Jan has been able to feed herself. Imagine.
I just can't stop smiling. It's so cool. I'm moving things. I have not moved things for about 10 years.
The research doctors are thrilled, too.
And you think, well, we just have to take the next steps where we can make this a clinical tool, not a research one.
The Osgood File. Transcripts, podcasts, and MP3s of these programs can be found at theosgoodfile.com. I'm Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
If you own or manage a business, you know you need control of your transportation costs. PetroCard is more than just fuel, offering card lock, mobile fueling, unbranded and branded fueling programs and lubricants. PetroCard is the largest independent franchise of Pacific Pride, owning over 65 convenient locations throughout Oregon and Washington. PetroCard has over 30 years' experience in the petroleum industry, providing detailed reporting, competitive prices, and reduced paperwork from one vehicle to a fleet of trucks. You'll save time, money, and be able to manage your fuel and lubricant programs more effectively. With the automatic fueling system from Pacific Pride, you'll get 24-hour access to gas and diesel at thousands of Pacific Pride locations throughout the U.S., some complete with showers. Get control of your transportation costs now. Call PetroCard at 1-800-4FUEL. That's 1-800-367-3835. PetroCard is more than just fuel.
Banking these days can be pretty impersonal. You've got your big banks, your internet banks, your do-it-yourself banks, and your too big to fail banks. That's why you might be interested in an alternative. Willamette Community Bank. Hello, this is Bill Higbee, residential lender. You deserve better service without sacrificing a thing. So if you're feeling underserved, make the switch to the best banking option out there with branches in Albany and Lebanon.
Willamette Community Bank. Service like no other. We promise. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Less hype, just quality news, sports, and smart talk. From your friends at 1580 KGAL.
And this is Dave Adams. You know, this is live radio. Don't you love it? And we have had a guest not show up for an interview. So we are going to be going to another part, actually a repeat of a Valley Talk that we had a while back with Kelly Kaiser, CEO of Samaritan Health Plans and Intercommunity Health Network, about the dialogue that we're having in healthcare. So we're going to replay that. A lot of interesting information there. We want to share that with you. But this issue with the federal government, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, saying they're not going to reimburse the state of Oregon for at least a part of the $250,000 spent on tsunami cleanup so far because it's a reimbursement expense. In other words, it doesn't fit the guidelines of the federal government. That's not right. And you're going to be hearing more about that on this show. And we're asking for you to email me your name if you'd like to be included on a petition that we will be putting together. And we'll be talking to politicians. We're going to be calling some folks and knocking on some doors and saying, why is this the case? This is money that came from another government specifically for tsunami cleanup. It was pretty much evident that this big dock that showed up on the beach in Newport was from the tsunami. So bust loose with some of that money and help reimburse the state for expenses that the state did in cleaning up the beaches. It's not right. We're not going to let it go. So if you're part of the people that are upset with the federal government losing touch, we want to hear from you. My email address is dave@kgal.com. Now that interview with Kelly Kaiser we did, she's CEO, Samaritan Health Plans. Here we go. We're going to be talking about healthcare and possibly some of the things that are happening in the state of Oregon to change this and make it more accessible to people, and some of the things that need to be done to fix the system. In the studios with us today is Kelly Kaiser. She's the CEO of Samaritan Health Plans and Intercommunity Health Network. Kelly, thank you for being with us on Valley Talk today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Obamacare. Everybody's talking about Obamacare right now. As far as what's going on with Samaritan Health Plans and Intercommunity Health Network, you're telling me that the state of Oregon is actually ahead of the federal legislation. Explain that for me, if you would.
So the Affordable Care Act, which is often known as Obamacare, that went into place a couple years ago, has many phases of it. And the first phase was really a lot about insurance reform, and that did already happen and is happening currently. And one of the goals of the federal reform is to put in place accountable care organizations, which are ways to bring together those served by Medicare, which is a federal program for the elderly or disabled, and have that in a more coordinated fashion in terms of the way the care is delivered. In the state of Oregon, Governor Kitzhaber has moved forward with coordinated care organizations, which are addressing Medicaid, and moving forward with coordinating care between mental, oral, and physical health for Medicaid recipients, which is actually happening a little bit sooner than the federal legislation. So we're getting a jump start on moving forward with reform in Oregon.
Now, what exactly does this mean, coordinated care organizations? Now, Intercommunity Health Network is a CCO, or a coordinated care organization. What, if we could drill down past the nomenclature and the alphabet soup here, what exactly does that mean?
So historically, under the Oregon Health Plan, there have been different plans in place to administer different benefits. So the state of Oregon would contract with Intercommunity Health Network. Previously, we've been around for 18 years, to administer just the physical health benefit under the Oregon Health Plan. Then they would contract with a mental health plan, a mental health organization, to administer the mental health benefits to the same person. And then they would contract with a dental care organization, or a DCO, to administer the dental benefits to the same person. So you have 3 different funding streams and 3 different entities managing 3 different parts of one person. So the legislation that came out of the session last year was really to coordinate that care and bring together through one funding stream and one responsible entity, the mental, physical, and dental health of the people under the Oregon Health Plan. So that's the coordinating care. And there's some very specific things written into the legislature about what's known as the triple aim, which is bringing together cost, quality, and outcomes. And a big part of that is population health and coordinating care, and that's what we're trying to change the way healthcare is delivered here in Oregon.
Could this also improve the quality of healthcare? If we have 3 different organizations trying to coordinate care, or not even coordinating care, but basically focusing on what they do but not talking to the others, then it would seem like there would be a lot of duplication of effort, and the overall health of the individual might suffer.
Absolutely. So if you think of maybe somebody going to the dentist and getting maybe a prescription for some pain pills, and the dentist not knowing that the primary care provider has prescribed a different set of prescriptions for the member, and that there may be an interaction. And if you don't know that, certainly at the point of payment in the computer systems, we manage all those pieces. But if we can avoid writing that script and having those interact and have better outcomes for the member, then that's a really important thing. And it's even more evident on mental health with some of the different drugs that patients could get, or different care therapies that patients could get, that we need to make sure that physical health is included, because you don't break the person apart. The person is all one person, and all of those things interact with each other.
Yes, they do. So a coordinated care organization such as Intercommunity Health Network, do you do dental care and mental health care? You'll do all of that under one umbrella?
So we have been doing the historic IHN, and we've reconstituted ourselves here this summer to have broader stakeholders and broader partnerships with the Cascades West Council of Governments, Lynn County, Benton County, and Lincoln County, public health, mental health, as well as the county commissioners. The goal would be that we have already brought together mental health and physical health. The state of Oregon, the legislation says the dental piece would be included this summer, and they're still working through some of the details. So the dental piece is not officially in the coordinated care organization yet, but mental health and physical health are.
Now, there may be people listening to this. A lot of people don't have health insurance now that maybe 5 years ago or 2 years ago had health insurance. It's becoming extremely expensive. A lot of small businesses simply cannot afford to offer that. And there's a lot of people out there that are concerned that they cannot afford health insurance. And so we're seeing kind of, just from a layman looking in, kind of a critical mass developing here where it's getting harder and harder for people to access the system or afford to get health care. As far as the health insurance piece, making it affordable for people to at least have some kind of modicum of health insurance coverage, are we making headway in that area?
So absolutely. Back to the Affordable Care Act, or federal legislation. As we move forward with the changes that were in that legislation, a lot of those include in 2014, the federal poverty levels will be changed at the federal level, which means that many people who are currently uninsured or underinsured or don't have insurance would now qualify for Medicaid. So one step is that the federal government is changing the rules around qualifying for Medicaid and making it broader, which would bring more people in. The other piece is the health insurance exchanges, which are part of that legislation, which the state of Oregon is taking a lead on and will be going live in the next year or a little over a year. And really, those are really focused to allow small businesses or individuals to go basically online, kind of like Expedia, put in what's important to you, and then you'll get options back and you can pick and you can help decide what you can afford in terms of the type of plan or if prescriptions are a big issue for you, but you don't really need to go to the doctor, then you can pick one that focuses on that. Or if primary care is really important, and they all have to have a base benefit to them according to the law and cover all the basic preventive care services. But you as the consumer will have the ability to spend your dollars, assuming you have them, in a way that works best for you.
Is this going to make it more complicated for the consumer? You're putting more options there, and they may not be, from a knowledge standpoint, be able to comprehend exactly what they need.
It certainly could be. And I know the state, at least, of Oregon is really looking at ways to add some support in terms of some help out there so that as consumers do this, that there's an opportunity to get help. But in the end, the goal is really that the consumer is engaged. They understand what they're getting. They understand what they're buying. They're not kind of confused by all the big insurance companies and maybe what the different plans are they're presenting to them. They can see them all very clearly laid out there and really do one-stop shopping.
Are insurance companies allowed yet to offer insurance packages across state lines? That's something that some proponents of healthcare reform would like to see as more competition in the insurance, in the health insurance industry, and believing that competition or increased competition could drive down costs.
Many of the insurance companies here in the state of Oregon do offer in multi-states. So that is certainly something that's in place in terms of that competition already.
Trying to rewrite the book here a little bit, aren't we?
We are certainly. And, we've in Oregon really has been a leader in how to administer health care, with Governor Kitzhaber being an emergency room physician by training. Back in the late 80s when he was in the legislature, he really spearheaded what we know today as the Oregon Health Plan in terms of how Medicaid is delivered. And so this is the next iteration of how we can really focus on quality and outcomes, access, and cost. And I think that's an important thing to say here, is that with these coordinated care organizations, we've been given a very specific global budget, and within that global budget includes everything that's covered. And so, and the rate of increase is mandated by the state and the Fed. So, managing the cost is a huge part of it, and the budget has been set, and you have to do all these things within that budget. So it's really a community effort to make sure we can do all this stuff, because it's not, it's pretty complicated and complex, and we have almost a smaller pie than we did 6 months ago to do it within.
Kelly Kaiser, CEO of Samaritan Health Plans, Intercommunity Health Network. More comments from her in just a moment. This is KGAL's Valley Talk. I'll be right back.
Mike Rowe here with a serious question. Tell me, when is the last time you celebrated the holidays? I'm not talking about lampshades on your head or regifting fruitcakes or spiking Aunt Martha's homemade eggnog. I'm talking about a real, proper celebration. You know, the kind of party that your Ford dealer knows how to throw? Well, you're invited to a holiday bash featuring the freshest lineup in America. They will hook you up with cars and trucks and SUVs with great mileage and all the latest technology, and of course, great deals. So why sit around the house waiting for your snowman to melt? Turn off the TV, get to your Ford dealer right now for Ford's year-end celebration. Fruitcake optional, bring your own lampshade, your fun may vary.
It's the Ford year-end celebration, your last chance of the year to save on Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 35 years. Find amazing deals on a powerful and efficient Ford F-150. Also save on Ford Super Duty. Don't miss the Ford year-end celebration. On now at your local Ford store. Based on AutoSource Incorporated data pulled on 9/21/12.
It's all happening in downtown Albany.
State Farm Insurance Agent Keith Sandberg invites you to get to a better state. With 26 years at State Farm, Keith knows all the discounts and will find the best solution to protect your home and autos. See Agent Keith Sandberg at the corner of 4th and Washington, downtown Albany.
You can buy outstanding cheese directly from the local cheesemaker, Ochoa's Cheese Factory. Try their American Cheese Society award-winning Oaxaca, Queso Fresco, and other fresh cheese at Ochoa's Queseria, 815 East 1st, near the railroad trestle.
The quaint little shop with inventory from the Victorian era to modern times is going to close December 24th. Timeless Treasures has everything on sale. You better go in now for great closing prices of furniture, displays, and timeless pieces. Timeless Treasures is at 421 West 1st.
It's all happening in downtown Albany.
Today.
Mr. Bilbo, where are you off to? I'm going on an adventure.
Now at Carmike 12.
I have a tale or two to tell of your own when you come back. Can you promise that I will come back? No.
The Hobbit is now showing at Carmike 12.
Loyalty. Honor. I can ask no more than that.
The Hobbit, an unexpected journey. Rated PG-13, now playing in 3D.
This is an astounding story of courage and endurance, unparalleled in the history of shipwrecks.
Now showing at Carmike 12.
No! Go away!
Based on the beloved bestseller, Two Unlikely Castaways.
You have to trust me.
One incredible journey home. From Academy Award-winning director Ang Lee, Life of Pi.
Now showing at Carmike 12.
In 3D.
Clarity over agreement. Expected from Dennis Prager, weekday mornings at 9 on Smart Talk 1580.
This is KGAL Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams. Glad you're with us today. If you have not yet got your name in for the Quiznos Taste on Us giveaway, please do so. You can do so by emailing me, dave@kgal.com, or calling the station 926-KGAL or 451-KGAL, 926-KGAL, 451-KGAL. Well, we got a few more minutes. Want to talk about the tsunami issue, but once again, also want to remind you that if you have something going on in the local community, we'd like to get it in on Valley Talk. If it's an issue, maybe the issue going on at City Hall or school district or charter schools or taxes or whatever, and you got something to say, we'd like to hear from you and talk about you about possibly getting on the show. You might, like myself right now, be angry about something that's going on in your life regards to local municipalities or schools, or just something that you see as unfair. Or maybe you've just got a nonprofit and you've got an event coming up that you would like some promotion on and you're doing good to the community. We would like to report on that as well. This issue about NOAA not giving some of this money that's come from Japan, apparently this $5 million, at least part of it to the state of Oregon, to reimburse the cost at least of removing this 200-ton dock from Agate Beach near Newport, that I think is unconscionable. And we're not going to let it go. I want to hear from you. Is this okay with you? Is it okay for the federal government to say, no, we're not going to reimburse you, Oregon, you just have to eat it? Or does that make you a little angry? Makes me angry. And I want to hear from you about this. My email is dave@kgal.com, and we're going to be talking to some folks about this particular story, because I think it's symptomatic of some things going on in the federal level. It's arrogance. It is bureaucratic arrogance, and the people have got to speak up. This is Valley Talk. I'm Dave. Make it a great day, and catch you later. Again, the email is dave@kgal.com.
The Mid-Valley home of Smart Talk. This is News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.